Hi friends, Matthew Boyle here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to explain each of the cards in the Heading into Language Land language learning card game. Before I jump in, just a few quick notes. For more information about this game, you can visit languagecardgames.com. That's languagecardgames.com. And you can subscribe there on the homepage to receive notifications about any new games when they're released, including this one, and sometimes some special offers and special promotions. Second, I want to warmly welcome you to like this video and subscribe to this channel so you can be aware of when new videos come out. I have a playlist for this card game on the homepage of my YouTube channel, so all the videos I make about this game will be right there in one place. You can learn a lot more about this game. And third, this game has two main ways to play it, a basic way and an advanced way. A basic way and an advanced way. And in the basic way, you can ignore all the special power texts of the cards. The power text is the text below those four word categories. So if you play in the basic way, it's really a very, very simple game. You don't need to worry about the power texts. The power texts are there to make things more complex and more strategic for people who are really into games. So if you play by the advanced rules, that's when all the special power texts come into play. That's when the card ratings in the bottom left come into play. This card doesn't have one. But that makes the game much more complex, strategic. So that's what we're going to get into today. We're going to get into some of the power texts. Now let's jump right in. The first card is Wordhaven. This is a location. Locations always stay face up and in place where they are discovered. And for Wordhaven, there's a very simple power text. That is, if you enter it, you can look up the definition or translation of one word. So, and this rule is similar to the Wordwizard, which we'll see in a minute. So these cards can help you. If you see certain categories on your team cards, or maybe you see certain categories out there on the board, and you're worried because you're not sure how to speak about them, if you go to visit Wordhaven, or if you get a Wordwizard on your team, that's going to help you to learn words during the game based on the categories that are coming up in the game. So this can help you during the time that you're playing to be more effective. Categories, there might be a slight difference between festival and holidays. People might like to explore that. Antiques are something that maybe people don't use much anymore, but they collect. That might be a simple definition. Religion and philosophy, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Okay, next card. The next card is the Wordwizard, okay? This is a character. Remember that character cards are any cards that do not say animal, pickup, or location under their names. That means that card, by default, is a character. So the Wordwizard is a character. The categories are book, language, school supply, superhero power. So for book, you could say an example, a name of a book. You could say a type of book. Language, easy enough, like Chinese or Japanese or Spanish. School supply, those are things like you would need when you're going back to school for class. So like a notebook or a backpack, pens, pencils, things like that. Superhero powers, maybe things like X-ray vision or teleportation or the power of flight, things like that. And the power text is similar to Wordhaven, which we just talked about. But, whereas you enter Wordhaven to access the power, for Wordwizard, you have to pass one of Wordwizard's categories. And when you do that, then and right then, you can look up the definition or translation of one word. Wordwizard also has a speed rating, carry rating, and weight rating in the bottom left. We're not going to talk about the card ratings in this video. We'll save that for another video. Okay, next card. Earthshaker. Earthshaker is a pickup. And the categories are season, disaster, gemstone, and planet layer. Okay, the season one I think is interesting because most people might think there's only 4 seasons. But if you explore different cultures, some cultures divide the year into more types of seasons. So that can be really fun to look into. You can also think really out of the box about that one and say maybe something like hunting season. So that will get you beyond just the 4 typical seasons. Disaster, what I'm talking about here is really natural disasters like floods and earthquakes. But if you want to have fun and be creative, I'm sure you can think out of the box about that one too. Gemstone, I found this category very tricky because there's slight differentiations between rocks, minerals, crystals, and gemstones. So I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to explain that right now. But if you're interested, you can look into what's the definitions of these words and what really fits these words. So gemstone might be something like a ruby or a sapphire, maybe a diamond, things like that. Okay, and the planet layer. So the planet has several layers like the core, the mantle, the crust, which I think maybe the technical name of the crust is the lithosphere. So this is describing the parts of our planet. And then the power text. If you pass one of Earthshaker's categories, then you can roll a dice. And if you roll a 4 or higher, then you can deal damage to players that are on a space next to you. So that's the value of the Earthshaker card, is you can sort of zap people who are next to you on the board. This is the card Og, which is a swamp. Some categories of interest: onomatopoeia, which is the words which represent sounds, like beep beep or honk honk, honk for a car. I'm saying the words twice because in Chinese that happens a lot. Maybe the bark of a dog, woof woof, or in Chinese they say wang wang. So different cultures, different languages, they have different words to represent sounds. Phobia is the technical name for a fear that people have. Like claustrophobia is a fear of enclosed, tight, maybe crowded spaces. There's a lot of phobias out there. You can look them up. And the power text, if you fail to enter or leave, you have to cycle one of your characters. So you would take a character off your team and put it into the cycle pile. Okay, the Gablin, another character. Yes, I know it's Gablin and not Goblin. The reason is because this whole game is about language learning. So gab means to sort of talk about gossip or talk about some meaningless things with your friends. It's kind of like means to gossip or chit chat about stuff of little importance. So the Gablin are always chit chatting, always gossiping. And an insult might be saying something like idiot. Currency, I keep thinking of China because that's where I live. Renminbi, the RMB is the currency here. United States, USD, things like that. A rude behavior might be spitting or picking your nose, something like that. Or maybe the middle finger. So you can say different types of behavior that are considered rude. That can be fun, talking about different cultures and different languages. Different peoples have different things they consider to be rude. And the power text is really fun. If you ever pass one of the Gablin's categories, you may roll a dice, and if you get a 4 or higher, you can steal a pickup from another player. I think that's self-explanatory enough. So you would take whatever pickup you want that another player has, like the Earthshaker staff or like the sword. Those are the only 2 pickups in this deck. You can take it from their team and put it in with your team. It would be on your team now. Tweetsee. Okay, love this little bug that I made up. I told the artist Sakuya, I want you to make me an insect that has sort of like the head and the body of a mosquito, the wings of a dragonfly, and the tail of a scorpion. And she did it, and it looks like a real biological creature that we might find in this world. So I just love it. And the name is sort of a thinly veiled jab at Twitter and tweeting and tweets. So Twitter can be a little bit of an annoying place where people anonymously whine and complain about meaningless things all day long. So I thought of making a mosquito-like little insect to represent all the tweets on Twitter out there and all the tweet heads. I don't know what to call them, but I'm one of them too. And the categories here: insect, social media company, social media jargon, and virus. I think the most confusing one might be number 4. What is social media jargon? That's all the specialized terminology that we use to talk about what we're doing on social media. So like follow, like, retweet, subscribe, maybe post, words like that. Power text. Pass one of Tweetsee's categories during a battle, and you may roll a dice. On a 4 or higher, your opponent is infected. Okay, first remember that a battle is when you face another player and go head to head on the same space. That word battle has a specific definition in this game. It doesn't happen just any old time when you go up against a card on the board. A battle is when you're fighting another player. So when you're fighting another player and you pass one of Tweetsee's categories and you roll a 4 or higher on a dice, you can infect your opponent. What happens next? Well, at the end of every one of your opponent's turns, they have to roll a dice. On a 1 to 2, they're going to take 1 LP damage. On a 3 to 4, nothing happens. They just continue on. And on a 5 to 6, the infection is gone forever and they don't have to roll a dice anymore at the end of their turns. So you can read that rule for infection in the lexicon of the rulebook. Okay, here we have the Wordwraith, another character. The categories are shape, monster, left word, and a superstition. Of interest, maybe left word and superstition. Left word could be the most confusing category in the game. That's because left word is a term that I made up. It comes especially from this world that I've created, and it comes from the story heading into Language Land. If you read that story, you'll learn more. In the story, we learn that left words, those are words that we literally leave behind after we speak. If we're not careful about what we're saying and how we're saying it, our words leave a trace, and then these evil beings called the Wordwraiths can track them. So you have to speak carefully when you're in places like Og, the swamp. So we have a corollary for that phenomenon in this game, and it's the left word category here on this card. If you roll this category, you have to repeat a word that someone else said before in the game. And you have to say exactly what they said, no matter which language that they said it in. So if they said it in Russian, you don't know any Russian, you still have to try to say it exactly the same. And they will be the judge of you if you said it right or not. If you pass the left word category, then you can cycle a character. So you can basically destroy a character from the team of the player who said the word that you repeated. So it's kind of cool because if I say words that are too easy for me, that's going to make it easier for you. It's going to make it easier for you to remember what I say and use it against me. So I might choose to say more difficult things that you would have trouble to remember. Okay, I hope that makes sense. If any of these don't make sense, by the way, you can leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you. Okay, and superstition. Well, that might be like a black cat, or taking an umbrella inside the house, or in Chinese culture, the number 4. Superstition might take a little explaining. It might be a little bit hard to say it in just one or two words. But anyways, you can brainstorm around those. It should be fun. The Treebeast. Okay. Tree parts like roots, trunks, branches. Tree species like pine tree or ginkgo tree. Please don't take the easy way out and just say apple tree and orange tree. Okay, people like to do that and it's funny, but come on, we can do better than that. Living fossils are really interesting. Those are those are plants and animals that have been around on this earth for tens of thousands, if not millions of years, pretty much unchanged. They are fascinating things to look up. So check out what are some examples of living fossils. Actually, the ginkgo tree, I think, is one. And then nature reserve. Now here, people might want to explore the difference between things like national parks and parks as opposed to reserves. There could be a slight difference there if you're really interested. But if you're not, then you could just say really any kind of a park or nature reserve. That's fine. A nature spot that people go to see that has a special name. Now, if you pass one of Treebeast's categories during a battle, remember you're fighting another player on the same space. That's a battle. Then you can cycle one of your opponent's characters or pickups. So you're going to get a chance to destroy something off of their team. Wrinkleroot, a character. So the categories are hobby, instrument, landmark, idiom. I think these are some of the most fun and simple categories in the whole game. Well, idiom's a little bit difficult, but people really love to learn those when they're learning foreign languages. Idioms are things like they're expressions that if you just know the literal definition of each word in the expression, you still will not know the real meaning of the expression. So an example is like kick the bucket. I don't mean literally kick a bucket. Well, I might, but if I'm using the idiomatic expression kick the bucket, I mean died. Another example might be a piece of cake. I might literally mean that I want a piece of cake, that's possible. But if I'm using the idiomatic expression, a piece of cake, I mean something is very easy. So do you know any idioms in your target language? Do some research, check it out. And the power text. When rolling for a locations category, you may roll an extra dice to choose from. So usually we just roll one dice when we're deciding which word category we have to speak about. So in this case, if you're going to enter a location, you can roll two dice and pick one. So this guy's going to help you enter locations. Froward, a location. Categories, color, question, opposites, fictional place. For question, you just say a question. Now, it could be really easy to just say what or why. You might want to make a rule with the other players that you have to state a sentence, an extended sentence of 3 or 4 or 5 words. Make it a longer question. Opposites, things like you probably have to say 2 words here. So like black and white, skinny and fat. So you say a pair of opposites. Fictional place might be something like Alice in Wonderland or the Shire. And the power text. Enter, and you may roll a dice on a 4 or higher. Switch the positions of any 2 spaces. Pawns stay with their spaces. So remember, for this game, we build a board using spaces of cards. The cards are the spaces. We put the cards out into usually in a grid when we play. So it's easy to move and shift them around. If you successfully enter forward, you can move 2 spaces. You can switch their positions. You could even move forward after you land on it if you want to move yourself to a faraway place. So this can be really fun because you could move 2 other players closer to each other. so that maybe they get into a fight with each other. Or if someone's close to you and you don't want to fight them, you could potentially enter forward and use it to escape somewhere farther away on the battlefield. Timagin. Categories: time of day, unit of time, famous date, historical era. Okay, these, I think they're pretty simple. Each one of them is simple, but they may be a little hard to differentiate. So a time of day would be like dawn, morning, afternoon, dusk, night, things like that. Unit of time would be seconds, minutes, hours, maybe nanoseconds. I had a friend the other day say light year when we were playing, so that's pretty cool. I don't know, actually, is light year for space or for time or both? Let me know in the comment section. I gotta look that up. I've learned so much through this game, and you will too. Famous date. Okay, so you look into history and you find something very special that happened, and you memorize that date so you can state it in your foreign language. And a historical era. Okay, like maybe the Renaissance era. Oh, that's a great one. Maybe you can look into the culture that surrounds your target language and look for a very special era of their history to talk about. And for the power text, if you win a challenge, you can force the loser of the challenge to skip their next turn. So in this game, you have the potential to issue challenges. If you think another person didn't speak correctly, or if you think what they said doesn't technically fit the category, you can challenge them and then look up the answer or prove what the answer is. And if they're wrong, then you're going to get to punish them and make them skip their next turn. So just having this guy on your team, that rule is always there, waiting to be activated by you. You don't really have to do anything special except decide to issue the challenge. But if you are wrong, you're going to lose one longevity point. You're going to lose one LP, right? Because that rule also surrounds challenges. Whoever wins challenges will gain an LP, and whoever loses a challenge will lose an LP. The sword. Okay, the sword has some categories which really tend to confuse people because they're not sure how to differentiate them. So let's talk about this because, you know, the words type, part, and name will come up a lot throughout this game. So let's talk about what the differentiation is. A sword type would be like a long sword, maybe a katana. It's a name for the type of sword, also short sword. Okay, I don't seem to know many sword types off the top of my head. Oh, maybe a scimitar. So these are different types of swords that are out there. Sword part. Okay, every sword, no matter of its type and shape, will have some similar parts that make it up. Now, I don't know so many technical names for that right now. I'm still learning too, but maybe like the blade, maybe the scabbard. I know pommel, I know hilt. So these are the different parts of any sword. No matter what type of sword you're talking about, they're going to have some similar parts, and those parts will have specific technical names. And then the last one, sword name. Well, if you think about it, there's some famous swords throughout history that people have given names to. I think probably the most famous name for a Western sword might be Excalibur. That was King Arthur's sword. But if you look into the culture which surrounds your target language, you very well could find quite a lot of famous names for famous swords because rulers would often carry swords as a status symbol and give them unique special names. I've looked it up in Chinese before and I've easily found like a dozen that are very famous. And there's probably many more if I keep digging. Now, the power text. Automatically, right off the bat, just by having sword on your team, you may add 1 to your battle rolls. But if you pass one of Sword's categories during a battle, you also can cycle one of your opponent's characters off of their team. Speakplains, another location. We have flower, weather, celestial body, and camping equipment. Maybe let's talk about celestial body. That is something that you see out in space, like a star or a galaxy. Yeah, I guess you get the idea if I say that. Maybe you want to get specific. You could say the names of different planets, the names of constellations, things like that. Camping equipment, things that you need to take when you go camping, like the tent, maybe a flint. What else? Maybe tent stakes or a sleeping bag. And the power text, during your direction phase, you may set a direction to any space. So in this case, you are already on the Speakplains card. And now it's your turn again. You're going to be leaving the Speakplains card. You can choose to go to any space on the board when you leave the Speakplains card, and you can take your whole team with you. It doesn't matter what their speeds are, doesn't matter how many people you have, you all can go together. So the Speakplains basically launch you to anywhere on the board because it's very easy to cross them and go quickly. So this card could really, if you leave from this card, it could really help you to launch an attack upon somebody because you could immediately go to their space and attack them. Wordsway. Categories are job, vehicle, shop type, brand name. Shop type could be a little confusing, but you might want to say, what I was getting at here is different types of business establishments, different types of places that either sell products or services. So maybe an apothecary or a chemist, I guess they might say in British English. Maybe a cobbler or like a shoe store. Cooper makes barrels. I'm thinking too like Wild Wild West here. I'm looking at the card picture itself. Maybe like a produce shop, a mom and pop sort of vegetable and fruit shop, things like this. And brand name, well, Nike. Nike comes to mind. But different, yeah, it could be any brand, not only clothing, but any brand name. And then the power text is enter, and you may cycle one of your pickups in order to gain 1 LP. So when you enter this location, you can give up one of the pickups that you are carrying to gain some longevity. So it's kind of like you're selling off some of your goods in the marketplace. You're offloading some of your pickups. Now in this game, in this deck, there's only 2 pickups and they're both weapons. You might not want to get rid of those, but you might. To get 1 LP, that's quite a great bonus. But in the future, there's going to be more and more pickups. So this could be a lucrative spot to come to and stay next to keep offloading your pickups and gaining life. Troll. Categories are muscle, video game, aggressive act, computer part. Okay, I think these are all pretty self-explanatory, but let's talk about aggressive act. That might be something like a kick or a punch or a bite. It could even be a shove or maybe just staring at somebody, staring down somebody. Could be regarded as an aggressive act. The power text, start a battle, and you may add 1 to your battle roll. Okay, so this means that you have to initiate a battle against another player. You have to move to their space. And then if you do that, you can add 1 to your battle roll. So this card kind of like rewards you for starting fights. Hence, the name of this character is the Troll. You follow people around. You try to get into battles with them every freaking turn. And there's 3 trolls in the deck. Imagine if you had all 3 and you attacked, you immediately get 3 points added to your battle roll. Wordsmith. Categories are noun, tool, weapon, handicraft. A handicraft is things like that you make with your hands. Well, maybe glass blowing could be considered a handicraft, or maybe cross stitch, or basket weaving, or even like shoemaking. So you say, the handicraft. And I guess I should say about weapons, be careful because if you talk about, for example, swords here, you might make it more difficult to talk about the categories on the sword card. So some of the categories on different cards may overlap a little bit, and you don't want to exhaust your knowledge of a certain category if you don't have to. So talk about other types of weapons like grenades, bombs, bazookas, bows and arrows. The power text is enter a village, town, or city, and you may exchange one of your pickups with any deck pickup. So basically, if you go anywhere besides a forest or a swamp or some natural setting, if you go to any place that is inhabited with people and shops, then you're going to be able to do this power text. And what this lets you do is, well, let's say you had the Earthshaker, but you really want a sword. You can get the Earthshaker off your team, shuffle it into the deck, and take a sword out of the deck and put it onto your team. Vice versa would also be true. I could take an Earthshaker staff out of the deck and shuffle a sword, take a sword off my team and shuffle it into the deck. Now, again, in this edition of Heading into Language Land, there's only 2 pickups right now, so it doesn't seem like that great a power text. But in the future, there's going to be more and more pickups, more and more weapons, so this card's going to add a lot of functionality. Neomi. Okay, princess. She's the daughter, King Neologos, the king of Wordsway. Her categories are feeling, apparel, makeup, hairstyle. Gosh, these all seem pretty self-explanatory. Let's talk about maybe the 2 most difficult. Makeup, that would be things like lipstick or mascara. Hairstyle, things like a braid, a ponytail, a bun, a mohawk. Power text, you may cycle X of your weapons in order to prevent any player from losing XLP. So if you or another player who you want to protect is about to lose some longevity points, you can cycle weapons off of your team in order to prevent that. So if you are about to lose 1 LP for any reason, and you had a sword on your team, you can cycle the sword, get rid of it, and protect yourself. Now you don't have to lose that LP. If for some reason you are about to lose 2 LP, you could immediately cycle 2 weapons off of your team to prevent that. Okay, so it scales. As long as you have weapons to cycle, you can keep deflecting the LP loss. Mono. Categories are smell, toiletry, bad habit, crime. Smells can be a little bit difficult to describe. It's really interesting. So you might have to say things like smells like fish or smells like flowers if you don't have a specific special word that you can say. Then just describe the smell. Okay, toiletry. It's a funny sounding word. It seems like the word toilet, but it's not really just about toilets. It's about all the types of personal healthcare products or really any kind of products that you would use sort of in the bathroom. It's like personal hygiene products. But maybe not strictly limited to that, but it might be things like deodorant, maybe Q-tips or cotton swabs, toothbrush, toothpaste, toilet paper, tissue paper, things like that. Bad habit, maybe smoking or playing on the smartphone too much. Always being late to places could be a bad habit. Crimes, maybe loitering, breaking and entering, hacking. Power text is fail to enter or leave and skip your next turn. Similar to Og, if you're in a difficult spot, you could get punished either way. If you fail when you're entering this location, or if you're already at this location and you fail to leave it, then you're going to get punishment. Remember, in this game, you might already be on mono and you're trying to move to a new place, but you might fail the new places category. Then you don't get to move, right? You're going to have to stay here. That's how this game works. So if you're already here and you fail to leave, you also get the punishment and you'll lose your next turn. Horse. Categories are verb, direction, horse breed, horse tack. Direction could be north, south, east, west, could be northeast or southwest. It could also be straight, right, left, above, below, over, under, all the words that help you describe direction. Horse breeds. Oh, this is really cool because there's so many different types of horses out there that have been bred for different types of purposes. The Clydesdale, for example, is so massive because it was bred to carry knights in full armor around the battlefield all day. So Clydesdale horses are about 6 feet tall at the shoulder. But there's many different types of horse breeds. And horse tack, that's all the sort of paraphernalia that you adorn a horse with in order to be able to ride it. So like the saddle, maybe the reins, maybe the bit, maybe saddle bags. All of these things are referred to as horse tack. Now, the power text. Pass one of horse's categories, and all of your horses gain +1 speed on your next turn. This is a really cool power text that adds a lot of functionality. You'll notice in the bottom left, the horse already has a speed rating of 2. So that means already, just by having a horse on your team, you're going to be able to move faster with your character that you're carrying. So the horse lets you move faster right away. But if you pass one of horse's categories anytime, then on your next turn, all of your horses get an additional speed bonus. So however many horses you have, they're all going to be able to move at an even faster speed. So you're really going to be able to cross the battlefield more quickly with everybody. Dragonspine. Categories are drink, bone, survival kit item, and dinosaur. Okay, a survival kit's kind of like a first aid kit, I guess. Things that help you in case you're in danger, an emergency, or you get hurt. Maybe like band-aids, gauze, maybe a little sewing kit, suture, maybe I'm trying to thinking of like a little radio or something or a flashlight. So things that help you get out of a difficult or dangerous situation. Power text. Start a battle here, and you may add up to X to your battle roll. X is the number of characters you have. So remember, if you start a battle, that means you have to move onto a space where another player already is. That means you have started the battle. You have initiated the battle. So let's say I have 5 characters on my team and I attack you here. Then I can add 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 to my battle roll later. If we have a battle roll, we might not. And you might be wondering, well, why don't you just want to do the full 5? Well, in most cases, I will. In the future of this game, there might be reasons why you don't want to have a battle roll that's really, really high. I'm already thinking of Hill 2, as you can see. But yeah, most of the time you're going to want to do a really high battle roll, so you might want to add as much as you can. Quick reminder, if you have any questions that I haven't answered, just post them down below in the comments section and I'll get back to you. Coming down the home stretch here, Embertell, food, sport, exercise, architecture. An exercise might be something like push-ups, pull-ups, sit-ups, jogging, architecture. I'm having trouble thinking of one off the top of my head. Maybe like Greco-Roman. I don't know if that's a name of architecture. Brutalist architecture, I know, is definitely a thing. Um, should have prepared that one. But different types of, this is the technical terms that describe the styles of building designs that we see across the world and in different cultures throughout time. Maybe over time they shift and different styles of architecture fall out of fashion, others arise. Power text. Enter and a citizen may join your team. Human, 2, age, 3, name, 4, nationality, 5, ethnicity, and speed 1, carry 3, weight 4. Okay, now this might be the most confusing power text in the game. Perhaps maybe Wordwraith is up there too, but this one could be pretty confusing. So if you enter this location successfully, you're going to get another team member. You're going to get to add a character to your team, but we don't actually have that as a card. So you need something to stand in for this citizen card. So you can just grab another card and leave it face down, put it on your team. You could cut out a little piece of paper. You could grab a nut or a berry or a coin or something to represent this citizen, and then just put it on your team. You have another character now. So this is like a proxy card that we're making here. I enter Embertell successfully. I gain another character card, but I have to make that card. Okay, I need something to represent that card. Put it on my team. This card is a character. It is a human, and it has 4 categories: age, name, nationality, and ethnicity. And it has the ratings in its bottom left. Speed 1, carry 3, weight 4. So this card will operate and function just like any other character on your team. You just have to remember that it's there. You just have to remember that you have it. Kirgak. Okay, this guy is the Emperor of Embertell. He's a human. He's a leader. Categories are game, famous person, military rank, political party. I think those are all pretty self-explanatory, but military rank, maybe something like captain, sergeant, admiral. Political party. Well, in the US, we have 2 major political parties, the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, or the Democrats. So I think it's pretty intriguing to look up the names of the political parties in the country of the target language you're learning. And the power text here, you may add 1 to your battle roll for each one of your characters that you will cycle after the battle. Okay, this is a really cool power text. Can't wait to explain it to you. So let's say you have a battle against another player and you tie, so you have to do the battle roll. You do the battle roll, and then you see, oh, I'm still a few points short. I can't quite beat this guy. You can sacrifice characters off of your team to add more to your battle roll so that you win. Okay. And this is because this guy is he's a little bit devious, a little bit of a plotter. He's willing to sacrifice even some of his own people to be able to win battles and wars. Okay. He has a little bit of a cruel side, and he's oscillating between being a person who is good and a person who is evil. So sometimes he does bad things. He's a really, really tough guy and a really sort of an authoritarian ruler of Embertell. Metamet. Seen this guy before anywhere? This is the protagonist of the story. If you read the story, I think you'll really enjoy it. Now, the categories are country, travel item, fictional person, famous quote. A travel item would be something that you really need to take with you on a trip. So like maybe a suitcase, or maybe some people like to take medicine with them when they travel, like some Dramamine if they get motion sickness on planes or buses. So Here you could say almost anything. Like you could say your smartphone, because people take that with them everywhere, right? And they wouldn't be caught on a trip without it, probably. But I challenge you to say something more specifically related to the trip. When we take extended trips, sometimes we need some special items to help us to be comfortable along the way or to be safe along the way or whatever. Famous quote. Okay, just look up some famous things that famous people have said and memorize it. That can be a lot of fun. And you can surprise your friends with it who are also speak or are learning your target language. The power text here, if a character joins you, you may set a direction to any space next turn. Okay, this is kind of like the Speakplains card, but it has a requirement that's a little bit different in order to activate it. So you have to get a character to join your team first. So let's say you meet an ally on the board and you win the ally over to your team. That activates this rule. That means on your next turn, you can move your whole team to any space that you want on the board. Okay, now we have 3 more cards here, and they are promo cards. This game, heading into Language Land, it has 3 special promo cards in addition to the deck. If you buy the professionally printed deck of Heading into Language Land, you will get the opportunity to choose one of 3 promo cards, and the card will be a foil or a holographic. So it's going to be shiny. It's going to look a little bit different than these next 3 photos I'm going to show you. And the 3 cards are Shen, Wordmother, and Firecircle. Now let's go through each of these promo cards. Again, these will not be in the online game. These will not be in the print and play game. You have to buy the real deal cards in order to get these ones. Okay, Shen is the pet of Metamet. He's the pet familiar. He's a very magical creature. Okay, this is his animal form. He also has like a godlike human, not really human-like, but yeah, more humanoid form actually. He has a godlike immortal form that he can change between. Okay, and his categories are eye part, so like the pupil or the retina or the cornea of the eye. Dream, different types of dreams like nightmare, daydream, lucid dream. You can think out of the box about this one if you think hard and long. I'm sure you'll come up with some cool answers there. Cloud, different types of clouds like cumulonimbus or nimbus. Duo. This one is famous pairs of people or characters who are always together, like Tom and Jerry or Ren and Stimpy. Okay. Maybe even like a president and a vice president could pass here. But anyway, famous duos. Power text. If Shen and Metamet are on the same team, Metamet gains +1 speed, and when you battle roll, you may roll an extra dice to choose from. So remember, speed is referring to the ratings in the bottom left of the cards. So this guy's going to allow Metamet to move faster. And when we battle roll, usually we just roll 1 dice. But this guy's going to let you roll 2 dice and choose which one you want to use. So probably you're going to choose whichever one is higher. The next promo card is Wordmother. By the way, we know these are promos because the bottom right has a red star. So Shen, Wordmother, Firecircle, they all have a red star because they're promos. Now, Wordmother is a really cool and special card. People wonder, why is there no word categories here? Is that a mistake? No, it's not. Wordmother is a generator type card. See the word generator up there? Wordmother is a generator type card. There are 9 sacred word generators in Language Land, and they generate words which sail out into the world and transform the world. And if you get hit by one of Word Mother's light orbs, it implants new words into your mind that sort of give you maybe a sense of purpose or a sense of mission or something to focus on. That happens to Metamet in the story. So, how does this work in the game? When you flip over the Word Mother card and find her or encounter her, you assign the word categories. You pick the word categories, and then those 4 word categories will always be there assigned to Word Mother for the rest of the game. Now, in future games, the word categories may be different because whichever player encounters Word Mother gets to assign the categories. But the action doesn't stop there. What happens next is related to the power text there. So after you assign the word categories, then you have to try to pass one, right? If you're successful and you pass the word category and you enter the Word Mother location, then you have to change one of your character's categories to the category of Word Mothers that you just passed. So let's say I had the Wordwizard card and I had that superhero power category, and it's a little bit difficult for me and I want to get rid of it. And I just passed Word Mother's category. Maybe I assigned the category of kitchen utensils to Word Mother. I don't know. But let's say I said category 3 is going to be kitchen utensils, and then I rolled a 3 and I said spoon, and I entered Word Mother location. Well, now I can take away the superhero power category from my Wordwizard, and I can add the kitchen utensils category to the number 5 spot on my Wordwizard because that's where the superhero power category was. So this could actually help you to get some difficult categories off of your characters, cards that are on your team, and hopefully implant some slightly easier categories that you would actually like to talk about and you actually know about. Okay, the last card we're going to talk about, guys, and he is really the guy who the story is all about. This is the Emissary. And the full title of this game is Heading into Language Land, The Death of the Emissary. And this is the Emissary Magna Firecircle. He is the chief emissary of Embertell. He works closely with Emperor Kirgak. And in the story, he is sent off ostensibly on a mission to arrange a peace settlement with the growing forces of evil. But he ends up getting ambushed and poisoned by a magical spell that drains his life whenever he speaks the different languages that he knows. So he gets poisoned, and you can read more into the story. I don't want to give away the ending, but the ending is really cool. He does die. I don't think I'm giving anything away there. The name of the story is The Death of the Emissary. But categories: pose, dance, virtue, martial art. Pose, look no further than yoga. There's a lot of poses there. But I'm sure there's even poses beyond that. But anyway, oh yeah, of course, there's simple poses like to sit or to crouch or to stand or to kneel. Maybe yoga is more specialized, like the downward dog pose or the lotus pose. Okay, a dance would be something like maybe the salsa or the tango or the cha-cha. I think those are all names of dances, but I'm not really a specialist there. Oh, maybe breakdancing. That's a good one. Breakdancing. Virtue. We say in English, patience is a virtue. Patience would be a good one. But you can think of really any good or noble quality that we seek to develop in ourselves, in our personality, and in our character. Really anything like that could be a virtue. Okay, a martial art. That's easy enough. Something like karate or Brazilian jiu-jitsu or maybe sumo wrestling. Now, Power text. Other players must pay XLP to set a direction to your space. Pass one of Firecircle's categories and you may raise or lower X by 1. Firecircle's power text might be one of my most favorites. Why? Because you can alternately discourage people from attacking you or sort of bait them into attacking you. You can go either way with Firecircle. Let's say I wanted to discourage people from attacking me. Then I would try to pass Firecircle's categories anytime I could. And then I would, on that basis, I would raise this XLP requirement for other players to attack me. So let's say I pass his categories 3 times, and I raise X by 3. Then if other players want to attack me, they have to pay 3 LP. So they probably are not going to want to attack me. On the other hand, I can keep the LP requirement low or even at 0. And then it's not really going to hurt them to attack me on the basis of this rule. So maybe like in the beginning, I'm weak. My team is weak. I might want to raise X up high so that people think twice before attacking me. But then maybe later, if I get stronger, I kind of want them to be willing to engage in battle with me. I can slowly lower X back down to 0. Can't go below 0, but I could lower it back down to 0 so they feel more willing to start a battle with me, so I can kind of goad them into attacking. I hope you understand that one because it's really fun to use in this game. Okay, that's it. Man, that was a whirlwind tour. That video is longer than I thought it was going to be, but I hope you learned a lot and I hope you're really excited to play this game. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions that I didn't answer, leave them down below. I'll see you back here next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate all your support.